Welcome back to another episode of the Fylde Road Coaching Podcast. Today I'm joined with my co-host Lewis Eaton.
How's it going, Will?
Today Lewis is going to introduce a topic, what we're going to be discussing within this video. Lewis, would like to take it away?
Yeah, of course. So basically, we watched Last Chance of Us, something like that, and it's about disadvantaged athletes coming from obviously different backgrounds and stuff, and like their struggles within sport and how kind of like sport helps them in a way. And I thought it was really quite a relevant topic that we could discuss, how like athletes or participants in our sport can come from different backgrounds and maybe some disadvantaged backgrounds, and how sport could be there as kind of like an escape in that sense.
A coping mechanism for them to deal with their pressures they are facing outside of sport personally. So like you discussed, we got this idea from this podcast from like you said, Last Chance You, and the video basically it's if you are interested in coaching and you're interested in sport in general, it's such a good documentary because they follow like a coach. Like it's normally they pick a team who are more likely to win the season, aren't they? And they follow their journey, and some like the coaches are in these series are absolutely mad. And like we'll discuss it later. How I got a feeling where like you can see like certain coaches have taken from other coaches, but we'll discuss that shortly. Just back to the athlete background topic. We haven't really acknowledged that people within our student union team might be from different cultures, different backgrounds. How would you, within our coaching personally, make that process more comfortable for them?
I feel like a lot of it's just about being open with everyone in your team, in the sense of, just even like little chats with people, see like where they're from, what the kind of like the background is and stuff. And I think you can pick off little things as well from parts like athletes. We'll just say athletes for now, and like kind of their situation and what they're in, kind of by their demeanor, like where they're from, what their background's like. I think you can kind of pick up little things like that. So I think understanding that, especially as coaches, maybe not at this level, but maybe at like say if you're a grassroots coach, this would be really like relevant. So understanding your players is really important, especially understanding where like what their background is and like how difficult maybe their background, like the background they've come from, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like within grassroots, especially, I feel most kids have different backgrounds. I found some research before that it says like depending on the socio-economic status of the parent, it will determine the sacrifice they're making. So, for example, if the parent doesn't have much, the sacrifice to get their child to, get into sport is much more greater than someone who has has the money, can afford, to send their kids off, to get trained. And I feel like as a coach, you need to understand that, kids are going through these sort of issues personally, and it's our jobs as coaches to just to cater them through that process.
Yeah, definitely. I think like in the sense of like you said there about obviously there is like children and athletes who come from that background of not like getting enough funding, would you say?
Yeah.
But like obviously it's sometimes in many cases like that kind of have an effect on like a child or an athlete participating in sport as well, which is like I think our goal really with what we're doing is just to make it everything equal, isn't it? Everything fair, and no one treated differently. I know it's a cliche thing to say, but I think that's just what we've got to take. Everyone's equal when they play for us, kind of thing. It doesn't matter where you're from or your background. I think that's really important, especially with student union team.
But do you not think it's important to acknowledge that, for example, let's say a scenario of you're coaching a like an under 13 side, and then you've got the one kid who has come from basically not much, and there's one kid that's come he's got everything given to him. Would you treat them equally, or how would you like compare them sort of relationships?
I think that's a really good question. I think in the sense of you've got to kind of understand them as an individual, haven't you? So if someone's getting given everything all their life, basically, like as in like a child or a participant's getting given it all their life, maybe putting a bit of adversity in front of them to see how they deal with it could be an area. But with the person that's not getting, hasn't been given all the luxuries of and stuff like that, and then how they've got and they're driven, then what I mean, that you don't need to push them much to get the best out of them. But I think it'll be more difficult to get the best out of an athlete or a participant in the sense of if they've been given everything before. And as soon as you say to them, well, you're doing it, you do it this way, and a bit of adversity in front of them, and they can't cope with it, I think that's that's like something which like could be massive in sport, where like you get athletes who like the mum and dad just give funding effort for them for like the whole lives, and as soon as something says like no, you're going to do it this way, and that's a big change for them.
Yeah, like cleaning shoes, or like cleaning boots, you know what I mean? Something
yeah.
yeah.
Especially at youth level, yeah.
I think it comes down to stuff that we've already mentioned in the podcast. I feel like that question I gave you is really down to like man management and how you manage these people. You can kind of relate it to the elite level. Like, remember we talked about Sir Alex Ferguson and how he treat everybody different. Like Eric Cantona, for example, you have to understand his background and what gets him to tick, and that's how you got to manage it. And I feel like even though it's at a much smaller scale at grassroots level, it still applies. You still need to understand the players. You still need to understand what makes them click, and so on.
Yeah, I think it's about understanding that. I think a lot of the elite level stuff, I think it does come down to grassroots level, but like in the smaller sense of like, there was a flip grid which I did today, and it was we were talking about like like children in a disadvantaged backgrounds that we're talking about now, and I think about understanding your athletes in the sense if they're going through a tough time, for example, like at grassroots, like divorce of parents and stuff, or like even like in the serious sense of like a child who doesn't want to go home and stuff like that. I think understanding like different child's backgrounds and how to deal with them situations is like really important for us, especially to grow as coaches. And I think it in the sense of, especially because everyone at our level's the same age, I think it does become a bit difficult of understanding if players are going through a tough time, because they're all the same age, and we can like kind of like hide it and mask it better than children can.
I feel like you brought up a very good point there, where like you said, within our own coaching context, it's quite hard to understand the difficulties some players are going through because they're not really showing it, and like we are very like big on making the sessions fun and enjoyable. Like why would someone come with such a negative, like, because obviously with negative thoughts, why would someone betray that or show that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like I said at the start, then like a little conversations with players to try and understand them a bit more. But I don't think there would be. Yeah, I think the topic that we've picked there about like understanding people from different backgrounds and stuff. I think it's more at the grassroots level, but I do think with us it's about that equality thing at our level to kind of making sure everyone's like getting treated the same. And when they come play football for us, like all the problems kind of like go away in the sense of like the focusing on the football, not anything that's happening at home or like even uni work or anything like that. They're not stressed, they're just focusing on the football and enjoying themselves. I think that's what we've got to take into consideration.
Yeah, I feel like it is a bit different when you're talking about like especially in an academy where some of these childs might be, they might be trying to pursue a career in sport to give them a better life. From our scenario, it's much different. It's like we're just getting everything coming together. People are coming, there's no economic benefits from it besides psychological benefits. So that is like, so within an academy setting, you need, like as an academy coach, for example, you need to really like battle that and battle how to deal with players who have not come from much. Like for example, let's think, like imagine like how mad it is as a coach if you had to release a player who who's had that sort of background.
Yeah, and I think that brings it back to a lot of things, like that Man City player like took his own life and stuff like that. Like, and these players, like there's players from these youth in the like youth academy especially who are getting released who come from nothing, and like football's their only hope really.
Yeah.
And like they've been released and there's nothing.
I reckon in football you get given like this false hope, especially within academies, to make it pro.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's what kind of, especially when you have to consider that at that sort of age, the brain is still developing. So getting
Yeah.
taught these sort of things, they're gonna believe it, and when it's not gonna happen, the worst is gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like having a dream at a very young age, and then you're following your dream till you're what 16, 17, and then the club turn around and say, "Sorry, you're just not good enough."
Yeah,
What do you do? Like, what do them players do? Like, what do they turn to? Maybe the people who have come from a bit of money or whatever stuff like that, like they've got something to fall back on. But like in the end of, you've got a lot of disadvantaged kids who look and go, "Well, I've got nothing now," and then it's
yeah,
like a bit in the sense of where do they find their way. So I think it's a really difficult. It's like
yeah,
a big topic, especially now with everything that's going on with
yeah.
like we got Manchester City player like I mentioned then about like committing suicide and stuff like that. I think people need to understand that you can't just spit the players out when you're done with them
Yeah,
if they're not
it's
good enough.
also the lifestyle of being a footballer can bring this sort of, they can develop these negative characteristics. So, for example, I don't know if you've seen it, there's this, on Sky, they produced this thing called Lost Boys or Lost Boys in Football. And
Oh
it's
yeah,
basically, I think we did it for a flip grid, but in the interview a person did, the player who got released went to go and do drug dealing because even drug dealing is still, you can still have the money, you still have like that, you walk around with that sort of swagger just like a footballer, and it's just little stuff like that. Not being educated beforehand, or stuff like not being given like some sort of support mechanism for this child. That's what they result into, and I know for a fact that's not the only scenario of that happening.
yeah, and I think that's a massive point like you make there that like the children, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds, are going to go into things like that, and I think that's like something as coaches like you recognize now that's still like heavily involved like especially even like youth level like 16, 18, like grassroots. There's players there that like are like in like not like criminals but like into crime, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because they're from that disadvantaged background and stuff like that, they're not educated on this kind of thing, and I think it's hard as coaches for to reach out to someone who's basically like you know they've been at that academy, then they come to your grassroots club, and they've got nothing there now. It's just like, well, what do they do? And then they go to the crime, which is such
I
a
mean, this,
shame, especially with some
yeah,
athletes.
I think there's so many factors that influence it. Like I know that it's like because obviously, especially kids within these disadvantaged backgrounds going to an academy, they're spending all their time there. The coach becomes a significant role model for that child's
Yeah.
life, right? And but I found some research which I'll attach to the description to this video, where like the pressure of releasing players and stuff like that on a coach can lead to negative athlete-coach relationships. So that
Mm.
means at the start there's already this kind of like this circle going on where coaches are not really not being motivated to be engaging with athletes and so on, and the negative the negative impacts this could have are massive. And I feel
So,
like it's our role as coaches is just to like trying to be better with that.
yeah. So would you say that like being from a certain background definitely shapes your experience in sport?
I feel like you'd be more. I feel like the coach would be much more of a role model like figure especially if you come from like a fatherless background, for example,
Yeah.
which most children, within especially some academies, they do that. So I feel like the role model like that will kind of shape your experience. You'll look up to the coach as much more of a significant figure to that
Yeah.
athlete's life.
I think it's quite an interesting point which you make there, because remember when we watched that program, and like he was that bad as a basketballer, wasn't there? Lost his dad, then lost his mum.
Yeah,
Like, and then the mum said to the coach, like, "You look after him," because like, and he was like, "Yeah, I will." So he said like that's kind of his like his father figure now. He's got no one. Like he lives on his own. He was like saying like
yeah,
he lives on his own, like a young lad living on his own with his girlfriend or whatever, and like that his mum said to him that you look after him, and like he has such a responsibility as like a coach, not just as a coach, but like as like a father or like a friend in that sense, to make sure that
yeah,
person's like safe in the way. Which I kind of like when in that documentary when the guy was on about like he's been through all that, like when people, because in America like Brooklyn and stuff, or LA, sorry, they're on about like, gangs and stuff, and he's saying to him like I've been through all this, like I know your experiences, like And I think as a coach, him being relatable to his athletes is like really important, because then it's just not like saying, I feel like there's some situations where you say to you try and give advice on a topic which you know nothing about because you haven't experienced it, but that coach being like rich with that experience, especially to their athletes, is like really important, as they can relate to him then. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's like really important for obviously that athlete and obviously the coach as a father figure.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I really like about that latest series of Last Chance U, is just how relatable the coaches has with his own experiences. And it's just like, if when you are growing up, like your dad, like for example, your dad is normally has the same experiences as you. You learn a lot from your dad. So just having a coach with a similar background to the athletes has such a positive impact on the players' development, technically, and also the development of his psychological well-being as well. So it's a good point you brought up there, mate.
Yeah, I think I, I'll try and I'm thinking about how we could link it into like the fighting like to like Fylde Road, in the sense of how would we know, how do we manage or like observe if a player's like, or having a struggle or a hard time, like what do we do? Do we put our arm around the shoulder, or do we say to the guy like have a bit of time off or whatever like that? Do you know what I mean? Or do you think it's best to like encourage him to keep playing sport for that difficult time?
I think it comes down to man management. It depends what gets that person to tick. If he's a person who's an outgoing individual, you can be like, okay, let's I know encourage him. You could come back to ours with a few drinks, like get him to
Yeah.
get him to love the team again. Instead of just a sport. On the other hand, if he's in like an introvert, you're gonna say like, if you don't feel comfortable playing, if you don't feel happy, just take a time off. Like, I'll message you. I'll keep checking up on you.
Yeah.
That's how the methods I would use anyway. What about
Yeah,
yourself?
I think that's spot on. To be fair, I'd probably do the same. I think for me, like a social interaction is really important for someone going through a hard time. I think not even just in sport, just in general. I think
Yeah,
just a simple text to someone asking if they're okay. Do you know what I mean? If they're like struggling for a certain time, is important, not just in sport, but in society as a
yeah.
whole, really. But like as we mentioned there, like it's hard for us at Far Road to notice players who are struggling or having a hard time.
But that
Because
because of contact time as well. If you think about it, we're only seeing.
now it's like it's near than impossible, isn't it, to know if a player's struggling or not like that, because obviously COVID and stuff. So it's social media. You're behind a screen, aren't you? You don't know what
Yeah, yeah.
someone truly feels in the sense. So I think is at the moment now it's just a simple, interacting on the Facebook page and stuff like that with the coaches, with the players, sorry, seeing if they're okay and stuff, and just checking up on people. I think is essential for us anyway.
Well, what I think is the biggest shame is that, like, especially because we're coaching students, like the reason of student union is the student union football league is just to get players out of that that assignment mindset, that deadline mindset,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's just it's so annoying how we just haven't been able to do that with our players.
Yeah, it's because it's not ideal at the moment, is it? When there's people like, to be fair, like me and you, like we're in halls all the time, and we go out for a walk now and then and stuff like that. But you're not like interacting with people, and obviously you can't.
You're not looking. To the Wednesday. That's
Yeah, something to do, like, oh well, I've got this assignment due and whatever. But like once I've done that, they can look forward to playing me football on Wednesday and having a laugh with the lads. And I think you know that's what I missed. I think I missed the most as well. I think that people do get affected with that as at this time anyway.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think understanding what play, like as I said, understanding the players' backgrounds to like be able for us to communicate efficiently to players is essential, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Um, anything else?
To be fair, I don't know, we've covered quite a bit there. I think I
Yeah,
probably should probably touch a bit on like the coach in that program, and how
yeah.
like me and you, as soon as we seen it, we thought like he would completely like was kind of like a Coach Carter, wasn't he, in the way?
Yeah. That's what I was going to mention. That's what I was going to mention earlier. I just didn't know if it was that much off topic, but I was going to suggest that if you watch Last Chance U and you've watched Coach Carter, you can see how similar they are in their coaching behaviours and how they manage the team, and it just makes you believe because like he's obviously not watched the film and took it. That Coach Carter is from the same area that coach is from.
Yeah.
That's just embedded within that community of how he coach basketball. And I just feel like as a coach looking in, he's just such a like it's kind of makes you think like is being in the northwest of England cultured my coaching like philosophy and my coaching.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point to make. I think it definitely has. I think if you're from the south, as well, you do coach differently. If you're from different places, definitely your coaching philosophy is definitely different in that sense.
Yeah.
But I think that I only speak from me being us being from the north, but I think personally, I think I notice more things about people socially in the sense of if they're feel having like a bad day or whatever, like just of not being from north, but just me as a person anyway, understanding that like however someone is, but that's just your background you brought up in, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, look after each other and all that. So I think what that coach, like you said there, he's not just copied everything that Coach Carter's done or whatever like that. Like that's just embedded in him through like how he's grew up.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just like, is it because obviously you watch Coach Carter with like the idea, oh, it's being dramatized, it's a film, like
Yeah.
it's Samuel Jackson playing him. He's not an actual basketball coach, and then you actually watch like the actual I can't remember what he's called, but the coach of the Last Chance U like series, and you just feel like it's so many similarities. It's like
it's the way he coaches. It's the way like he does it. He's not aggressive, is he? He's like enthusiastic, like passionate about what he does.
But the players we refer to him like, oh, he's going to explode. We're thinking he's going to explode because that's how passionate he is around the subject. And as a coach, he's so admirable.
Yeah, it definitely is. And I think when he's saying stuff like he does like one of the assistant coaches were like he doesn't want like perfect. He wants like perfection out of like every person, but not like him to like perfect the skill. Just like be like kind of like a better person, like perfect being a better person. And I think that's just like amazing. That's what you want as a coach, isn't it? So like, I think coaching is not just about coaching sport and making someone their ability in sport better, but like making them better as a person and like socially as well.
So we can link that before when we discussed academy coaches. Imagine having that. That's what sort of mindset you need to have in academy coaching, for my opinion, within this country is just trying to get the athlete to be a better person. Despite the fact that because the football club they're working at, they just want like the 1%, the 1% of the best. We need to have that sort of mentality. Okay, fair enough. Not all my players are going to make it professional, but I need to get them all I need to develop them all individually.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
To be fair, man, I think there's quite a sensitive topic to talk around sometimes. Background anyway about people's background and stuff like that. So I feel like we've covered quite a bit there, and I think that program really links into the background and like how because you notice like in the program there was like only certain like people that were like people from different cultures that he would like who were like suffering because of like the Brooklyn area and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like it's crazy to think that like you know what I mean, like they don't have the support or help at the time. But obviously some players do. And like him like getting that team to work as like a whole, even though they're all like from different backgrounds, different cultures, was like as you said, they're like so admirable to like see as a coach.
Yeah. There's definitely things we could take within our own coaching, try and get everybody to work together for the common goal, and it's just it's very Is there anything else?
No, mate. To be fair, I think I've said everything I wanted to say on that topic anyway.
Yeah, it's a very good topic. We discussed it thoroughly, and if anybody is interested in watching the documentary we referred to throughout this video, it's on Netflix. But besides that, thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to follow us on our coaching journey, and see you guys for the next video.
See you later.